Football!
Football! Football!
Oh, football. Stick it into my neck, baby. We are so back. Jackson says that's the widest he's seen me smile. The widest, not the whitest he's seen me smile since we started doing this radio show with him. How long have you been stuck with us?
About 5 months.
About 5 months.
Sounds about right.
You know what we haven't had in 5 months, 6 months, 7 months?
Football.
Oh, come on.
NFL football, but
Get out of here. Get out of here. Don't ruin my vibe. Get out of here.
We also couldn't have a better game.
I gave you your Monday. Leave me alone. Let me enjoy my football. My existence, my reason for being is back. I can feel it coursing through my veins. We're going to have a fantastic show today. 615-737-1045 is the number. Football, baby. I couldn't be happier about it.
Truly, I don't think we could have a better game to kick off the season. Rematch, AFC Championship, defending Super Bowl champs at home as is tradition on Thursday Night Football to open things up. But all the narratives, all the matchups, I don't think you could handpick a better matchup to kick off the season.
You also have the F&N Bank chat to get involved. We're going to make Super Bowl picks today. We are going to pick NFL awards today. We're going to do all the basic sports talk radio stuff, and I couldn't be happier about it. But yes, Lucas is correct. The matchup between the Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs tonight is an excellent one. Two-time defending Super Bowl champions who are favored and who are going for their third straight. It would be the first time, obviously, in NFL history, if that were to come to fruition, and plenty of people are picking the Chiefs to three-peat. You've got the defending MVP, the reigning MVP in Lamar Jackson, and his new super-powered sidekick, Derrick Henry. I don't know what the vibes are for Titans fans around that. I'm sure many of you are happy to see him go on and try and succeed elsewhere, but an excellent AFC Championship rematch from last season where the biggest storyline out of that game was what? Lamar Jackson, 46 dropbacks with the NFL's leading rushing offense.
Yep.
Going to Kansas City and petering out that way.
8 carries.
So what do? You go get volume. You go get Derrick Henry. Bet your ass there's not 46 dropbacks for Lamar Jackson in this Week 1 kickoff tonight. I don't know what I'm more curious about. I think, and we'll get to this, but I think that Derrick is going to have a spectacular year. I'm hoping Derrick has a spectacular year. I really want to see him kind of go on to do the kind of stuff that he wasn't able to do at the end here. And you can talk about whether or not they did right by Derrick Henry. There was a great amount of success during his time here, but he wants to compete for a Super Bowl. I would like to see him actually do it. And they've armed themselves with the one thing that they didn't have or didn't feel comfortable enough having in a big spot on the road in the AFC Championship last year. And then there's the idea of Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Is this kind of the last ride for the two of them? I know that Kelce signed an extension. I know that Travis Kelce has figured out how to load manage the way that he did successfully throughout the course of last year's regular season and then kicked it on during the playoffs and looked like the Travis Kelce of old. They're going to be without Hollywood Brown tonight. So Xavier Worthy in a big spot, Juju Smith-Schuster, who is also in Kansas City now, and a Chiefs defense without L'Jarius Sneed, which is not inconsequential. This was an elite defense. The best defense in football last year was the Cleveland Browns, yes? Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year last year. Jim Schwartz leaving Titans fans lusting after his departure as the defensive coordinator there. They were absolutely suffocating as a unit. But Kansas City was right there, and L'Jarius Sneed a big part of that. And I think Steve Spagnuolo, it doesn't matter what I think. Steve Spagnuolo is excellent. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks. There is a proven track record. He just won a Lifetime Achievement Award, the same that Bill Callahan won, and he's been doing it for a long, long time. Maybe not as a head coach, but as a D coordinator, I don't know that there's anybody better in the game right now. But losing Snead is a big piece, especially for the style of play that Steve Spagnuolo is very much known for. So how that plays itself out in the matchup, like you said, it couldn't get better for a week 1 game.
No, I don't think you could pick a better matchup. Can Derrick Henry reach or surpass his career high in touchdowns this season? 17, career high from the 2020 season. Is that in the realm of possibility for Derrick Henry with the Ravens?
Yeah, because I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to goal line vulture him or anything like that. Now, Derrick is a big piece of eye candy, for lack of a better term, and an offense that has a lot of pieces and parts. So maybe they get creative with it, like at the height of Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel here, where Derrick's running for touchdowns. He's throwing touchdown passes. You can use a couple of different things to your advantage here, especially with a guy like Mark Andrews and what they have in Zay Flowers as well. Though Zay Flowers, I think he got a little overhyped last year. I'd like to see a more consistent version of him before we can, pronounce him wide receiver 1. Bird is scared. I could smell the fear on him, and it makes me very happy.
The higher the expectations, the higher the level of fear. I know that feeling well. But yeah, Derrick Henry probably going to take more touchdowns from Lamar Jackson than Lamar Jackson is going to take from Derrick Henry, right?
Agreed.
They're not going to be trying to ram Lamar into the end zone from the 5-yard line every time the Ravens get into the red zone. The red zone feels like Derrick Henry time for the Baltimore Ravens this season, and we're going to see it for the first time tonight against the Chiefs defense, who I know the Browns were elite last year. Chiefs were one of the best defenses, top 3 unit in the NFL last season. Ravens also had an argument for being the number 1 defense in the NFL last season.
Statistically, they were as good as any defense in NFL history, where they were the first defense in NFL history to lead in turnovers, sacks, and points per game, if I remember correctly. There might have been another category that they led in last year as well. And then the idea of, since we're talking about that, Kansas City survived their offense last year, fair to say? Like, the defense ended up being the best version of that. If you go back and look at Mahomes, and he played in 16 out of 17, completed just over 67% of his passes, 4,183 yards. He had a touchdown to interception ratio of 27-14. That's not like a stellar year for a guy who has a 50-plus touchdown season in his background, somebody who we think of being excellent. But he was excellent despite his surroundings last year, and they survived that offense and got good enough play down the stretch in the postseason for that to be sustainable. This year, it feels like they're a better version of themselves. The question is the defense going to be as good? And then on the Ravens defensive side, they lose a bunch of their coaching staff. Mike McDonald's the head coach in Seattle now. That's not inconsequential. You have Denard Wilson, the defensive backs coach, coming to Tennessee to be the D coordinator. This is a lot of pressure on Zach Orr in a big spot. He's a young coach, former Baltimore Ravens linebacker, as a matter of fact, and it's no small feat to try and stop Patrick Mahomes, if you can't stop him, you have to try and stall him, I guess, to keep him from, just doing the thing that Patrick Mahomes does, which is be inevitable. And I can't wait to see the chess match play itself out. It's a great weekend of football from college and pro, because I think the NFL's jealous of how much fun college football was on Labor Day weekend. How long before they come for your precious Labor Day weekend, the NFL?
What, back it up a little bit?
I mean, I can feel it in my bones. They go backwards instead of forwards into the calendar.
No, they'd be fools to do that when you have the option to go forward and make President's Day weekend Super Bowl weekend.
Correct.
That would be idiotic to go backwards instead of forward.
I think they had FOMO this weekend, and I think they're greedy. I think they're coming for your Labor Day weekend, Lucas. Be scared.
They are greedy. That is true.
But it's great. It's great to have all the football back, and we're looking forward to talking about it throughout the course of the day. Titans, Bears, we have a lot of things to discuss there. Jamie Erdahl is on the show today from Good Morning Football. Many of you are very happy with Jamie Erdahl because she picked the Titans to go to the playoffs. We'll have her explain why at 11:20. Coming up next, though, DeAndre Hopkins returned to practice. They're going to evaluate him throughout the course of the week. If D-Hop can't go or they choose to have him not go, how much do you actually trust this Titans wide receiver core? We'll talk about it coming up next. I'm Buck Rising.
"45 minutes from right now, doors open at Hattie B's locations across Middle Tennessee, with the exception of one. That's because the factory at Franklin is doing breakfast. Open at 7 a.m. daily. Come try some of the new breakfast items: the classic hot chicken biscuit, the hot chicken and waffle stack. Grab an iced coffee on the way out. But, of course, it is almost lunchtime, which means Hattie B's should be in your near future. A family-run restaurant serving up your favorite Southern food, an authentic Nashville hot chicken. I've tried them all. Trust me, it's the best in town. They hand-bread their fried chicken, cooked to order. Add your spice level, hot or not. Everything in between, with your favorite piece of chicken, from tender sandwich wings or a half bird. And it's not just the chicken, it's the best sides in town: the southern greens, the pimento mac and cheese, the bacon cheese grits, the baked beans. You simply cannot go wrong. Top it off with some banana pudding or peach cobbler. By the way, if you download the Hattie B's app, not only can you order for pickup, skip the line, walk in, get your Hattie B's famous hot chicken, and head back to the office, you can also order for delivery, and you get a free dessert just by downloading the app. Go ahead and start building up those Hattie B's rewards and go to Hattie B's Hot Chicken today.
Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Doesn't it feel like a Friday? Feels a little bit like a Friday.
Kind of does.
That's what football season does to you. We got college games tonight. We've got the NFL back tonight. I'm sure that won't be a big deal made out of at all. I already see a million different hot takes and social media clips about siding with Taylor Swift or bashing Taylor Swift as a part of the NFL. It means that football is truly back. It's wonderful. Now, for the Titans, their season will start in 3 days from now. Chicago against the Bears. They are a 4.5-point road underdog. Nobody outside of Nashville feels like they're going to win this thing, right? Fair assessment? I mean, maybe a bit hyperbolic to say not a single solitary person outside of Davidson County is going to pick this team to win a football game on Sunday, but it does feel overwhelmingly coronation of Caleb Williams. The Bears are back. 100-year-old fan base. Fans losing their minds. Finally a quarterback. No more Sid Luckman talk. No more Jay Cutler. Caleb Williams, painted nails, football. That's what the NFL's vibe feels around this game.
By the way, we had Carmen Vitale on yesterday, and she's talking about how Bears fans are miffed that, they're a noon kickoff.
They're very upset.
Where do Bears fans get off in thinking they deserve a primetime game with all of the horrific, disastrous? We had to watch Tyson Bagent quarterback a Thursday night football game last year or the year before. I don't even remember. But the amount of god-awful primetime games the Bears have put us through, and they're sitting here putting their chest out like they deserve a primetime game on Sunday? I don't think so.
Do you know why I'm making a face at you?
Why?
Because that sounds funny coming from a Tennessee fan after the last 2 decades.
As a Vols fan?
Yes. Primetime games, big time slot, high expectations, third Saturday in October, all these different things that I have to watch you just get slapped during.
Oh, you think I was pining for Tennessee, Alabama to be the CBS game of the week?
I'm just saying.
Do you know how many times I wanted that game to be buried at 11 a.m.?
It's a little funny. Revisionist history.
You think I wanted that team? You think I wanted that slop for a decade to be in prime time? Hell no.
You think the Bears wanted to be in primetime with Tyson Bagent? No, they only care now because they got a quarterback. That's what I'm saying. They feel entitled before this thing has even begun because they believe in this guy so much. Now, maybe they'll lose their minds after 6 games and maybe he looks like Justin Fields. I have no idea how this is going to go. But I am fascinated to see how it plays out. And one key piece of this, one key component, certainly for Tennessee, is whether or not DeAndre Hopkins plays on Sunday. Now, Brian Callahan said he was going to be back out at practice. I went to practice yesterday. Can confirm that he was back out at practice. And we asked the head coach, Jackson, at your convenience, whenever you're ready. Looks like you and Ian are talking about something. I would like to hear from Brian Callahan about DeAndre Hopkins and their plan for return to play.
We should have guys. They should all be at practice, and we'll see how much they do. We'll see where they're at. So they're guys that I'm feel pretty good about, but can't make any guarantees at this point. So we'll see how it goes.
What have you seen from Hop so far from his coming back?
Same guy. He looks like Hop. He's been great. He's been really communicative about how he feels and where his body's at, and making sure he's getting to work to be ready to play. So everything he's done has been exactly what we're looking for in terms of communication and process. So that's been positive.
What's your thing about a guy practicing or not practicing during the week and playing on Sunday, and how much does it vary for a veteran?
It's case by case, I think, is how it usually works. I mean, obviously, you'd love to have them practice at least once before the game. I generally think that's a safe bet to feel like they're ready to play, but there's definitely been weeks where a guy's been dealing with something that lingers, but by the 48 hours from Friday to Sunday, they got a shot to be ready to roll. So generally speaking, give guys as much opportunity to play as possible. I'll never rule anybody out if they haven't practiced, unless it's like a clear they're not going to play. But for the most part, if they think they can make it, and we can try to make it go, pregame workout or whatever. If they haven't practiced and they've played enough, usually I feel pretty good about it. Different than if it's a younger player who maybe hasn't had the experience, and then I'd be a little bit more leery of a guy not practicing.
So that is Brian Callahan speaking about DeAndre Hopkins. It's 1 day of practice. For what it's worth, I think it's less likely that he plays. I think that they would prefer to have him 100%, and I don't know that he's going to be 100% for kickoff. They'll make the final determination Friday, but right now I think even though he's back and it's a step in the right direction, I would be surprised to see him out there against the Bears.
And I'd be good with that approach. Don't risk DeAndre Hopkins week 1 if he's not 100% against an NFC opponent on the road.
Correct, especially given that you have a bigger AFC opponent coming here to Nashville in week 2. The New York Jets are going to be a good football team as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Nobody is disputing that. For as much as we hate the TMZ, or maybe you like the TMZ, maybe you're just sick of the Rodgers experience, all the stuff around him doesn't matter as long as he's good at football. And they have one of the best defenses in football. And they have a pretty interesting skill group now around Garrett Wilson. It may be the all-IR team. It may only last for 6 weeks. But while they're healthy, they're going to be good. And they're going to be pretty healthy in week 2, one would imagine. So I am with you. I am totally fine with them not risking re-injury with a 32-year-old wide receiver who's already beating the odds, who was excellent last year, who was the picture of health, who led them in receiving touchdowns. I think that you have built this team successfully to where you don't live and die with the absence of one player, even if that one player makes a considerable difference being in the lineup. So, like I said, my expectation is that he won't be out there. We'll see how he continues to progress. We'll see if he practices today. If he practices today, that's a good sign. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in on the conversation. Jeff is up first. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, guys. I got a quick question here. Tennessee Titans fans and Tennessee Vols fans are so close and very similar to Dallas Cowboys fans because it's always, this is our season every year since 1998. Stop it. Stop.
Okay.
Guys.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people agree with that sentiment.
He said, stop that.
Cut it out. Quit. So, I mean, it takes even Jerry Jones. I mean, is there anything that can be done about the Dallas Cowboys and the continued overhyping about the Dallas Cowboys? Because for whatever you thought about their draft and everything else that played itself out, their all-in strategy that doesn't look very all-in, it sounds like they've got a pretty good starting offensive line now with the draft capital that they've invested into it. And as long as you've got that, you've got a pretty good chance with a guy like Dak and CD.
Yeah, the thing about fan bases that do that, it just speaks to high expectations. And whenever expectations are set for a fan base, they do not go down. Big picture, right? That doesn't mean that every fan goes into every season saying, no, this team is going to win the Super Bowl. There were many seasons where Tennessee fans did not go in saying this team is going to win the championship. But the long-term expectation, once there is an established foundation anywhere in a team's history in the modern era of winning a title, that is going to be the expectation. Well, we did it once. The expectation is to do it again. So that's why you hear that most often from fan bases that experience that. And the longer they go without it, the more they pine for it. Like Tennessee fans, like Cowboy fans.
The chat is roasting Jeff for chastising fans for being fans, which is something that Lucas often does to me. So I can understand that hearing it from your guys' perspective. So anyway, let's focus in on the Titans and the Bears. DeAndre Hopkins, assuming he doesn't play, or in a hypothetical world, let's say, which may be too early to make a determination, I would trend less likely, but that's not relevant on Thursday. Are they good enough without him? Because Traylon Burks is the backup. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, Will Levis, and a healthy starting offensive line, plus a play caller who's going to try and set you up for as much success as humanly possible based on everything that we've seen from them. Is Traylon Burks a big enough variable to impact your confidence about this game if you're a Titans fan? I genuinely don't know what the answer to that question is. That's why I'm asking you. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to weigh in. My response would be, it should be. You spent enough money on it. You better be able to trust it without just one guy in the lineup, even if the guy replacing him is wildly inconsistent or to date has been wildly inconsistent. And I hate to do that to Traylon Burks because I know we talked about fresh start type of stuff, but I can't trust him until I see that I can. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely, that's fair.
I want to see him do stuff just routinely. I don't need spectacular. I treat him like a rookie. Just go out there, do your job, get off the field healthy.
Don't try to do too much.
Don't do too much.
Like Callahan was talking about with the rookies.
It's all good. Don't do too much. Just do the routine, catch the passes that are thrown your way, and if you can stay healthy while doing it, excellent. And then do it again the next week. I think that you have to be able to trust Treylon Burks for one game, even if the track record says, I don't know about that.
Well, you need Treylon Burks in this game.
You sure do.
Because they're going to devote a lot of attention to Calvin Ridley. Now, the difference between this coaching staff and the last coaching staff is you probably have a little bit more trust in the creative ability of this coaching staff to find ways to get Calvin Ridley the football that you couldn't necessarily say about offensive coaching staffs in recent years for the Titans. But with that said, a lot of attention is going to be devoted to Calvin Ridley. And that was kind of the thing with Calvin Ridley last year, right? It was a little bit boomer bust when he was the thing teams were devoting their attention to and taking him away. The Jags struggled to find consistency in the passing game. So how do the Titans avoid that this week? You have to be able to trust Treylon Burks. You have to be able to continue to rely on Nick Westbrook-Akine and Tyler Boyd as well.
I feel like I'm going to need to say this multiple times throughout the course of the segment, but I just want to make sure that people know that DeAndre Hopkins is not officially out.
He's not out.
He's not officially out. We're talking about the idea.
He hasn't even been ruled questionable officially.
He is on the injury report. He did practice yesterday. He did. This is his first full week testing things out. And while we didn't see the entirety of practice, so he could have been out there for stretch an individual and gone in, D-Hop did go through practice yesterday and is listed on the injury report. They're going to wait till Friday to make a final determination. We're talking about what if.
Yeah.
615-737-1045 is the number. Trey is up next.
Hey, how you doing, Buck? And Lucas and everybody else?
Yeah, there's more of them that just keep popping up every day, Trey. I don't know how this is happening.
Hey, but I wanted to say, Buck, hey, we've had some pretty good defenses, man. We played Aaron Rodgers. We beat Aaron Rodgers. We've beaten Patrick Mahomes. We've beaten the young man from Buffalo. We've had some pretty good defenses. It's just the cornerbacks. We need to work on that. And I'm excited about the game come Sunday. And I wouldn't play D-Hop, but if he's ready, I would play him. What do you think about our chances as far as not getting burned down the field on splash plays? And you have a good day, buddy. Have a good day. See you.
Thank you, Trey. You have a good day, too. I come away from this thinking that neither team is going to try and go for the splash explosive play. Now, I'm sure there'll be shot plays in the game, but what's the best thing that you can do for a rookie quarterback at home? To take the pressure off him. Run the football.
DeAndre Swift.
This is the leading rushing team in the NFC last year. It's the second leading rushing team in the NFL behind the Ravens. They've improved their offensive line, or at least they think they have, and DeAndre Swift coming over in free agency is a big part of that. They also have Khalil Herbert. So I thought maybe they're not the second best rushing team in football this year, but I fully expect them to run the football. So to me, this game is much more about who can control the game that way, not necessarily what's the over-under set at. I know the point spread's 4.5. I haven't seen the total points at the sports books yet.
What would you set it at?
I would probably say 44.5. 44.5 seems right for a rookie quarterback in his first start at home for a second-year quarter. 44.5?
According to FanDuel Sportsbook.
Oh, look at me. I'd go under. I think I'd go under. I don't expect there to be a ton of points in this game. Now, if there are, that's a pleasant surprise. But if both teams play the way that I think they want to play in this kind of a game, I think they're running the hell out of the football. Tom is up next. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I'm calling to see what your guys' opinion is. I've been down in Tennessee now for like 14 years, and it seems like year after year after year, the Titans seem to always be chasing the top free agent picks all the time instead of developing within. I mean, you go back, we got Jabaven Clowney, and you got Julio Jones. You know, this is your show, and everyone's like, "Oh, Julio Jones. We're gonna get Julio Jones. We're gonna win the Super Bowl," kind of thing. And now we're picking Hopkins and T. Higgins, and it's like it just goes on and on. Ryan Tannehill just goes on and on with picking up these, free agent guys, and very rarely do we. I mean, we had Marcus Mariota, number 1 pick overall, and he was kind of a so-so pick, whatever. I know he was but it just seems it's never ending. Like all the good teams, like the Packers, like very rarely do they pick up a top free agent. They always develop inside. They get their 3rd and 4th round pick linemen all the time. And it just seems like the Titans, all they do is chase free agents every year to get, okay, we're going to get this guy. We're going to get this guy. And it's like Tony Pollard's another one. It's like we seem they always get these guys that are on the back wing of their careers, and they never pan out. Very rarely do they pan out, these top guys.
Okay, so you're making the same point a lot of times, Tom, and I appreciate that. That's why you got the Oscars music. We're working through some logistical stuff, so you would have gotten it earlier. 60 seconds on the clock is how that works. A couple of things you got wrong there. Marcus Mariota, not a 1st overall pick. Marcus Mariota was a 2nd overall pick. Ryan Tannehill wasn't a free agent acquisition. He was traded for by this team. In fact, they got the Miami Dolphins to pay a huge chunk of his salary to keep them from having to reset the board. And I think you have to look at each team within that year's context to understand why they did the things that they did. When they got Julio Jones, it was because that was a team that was ready to compete. That was Jeff Simmons, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Derrick Henry. Like, that was a team that had enough organically drafted parts that maybe a Julio Jones put you over the top. They tried it. It didn't work. Everybody didn't stay healthy enough. And in a situation like that, Ryan Tannehill came up really, really short in a giant spot when all 3 of the best skill position players were healthy. So this year's different.
Also, T. Higgins, not a Tennessee Titan.
Yes, one of the many things that he got wrong that I forgot to correct. Thank you for that. The team that they have is a product of the team that they couldn't draft over the last 2 seasons. So what do you do if you suck at drafting and you've got all the money in the world because you don't pay any of the players that you drafted, and you've got a top 10 draft pick because you've sucked? You go out and buy the best team that you can and draft the best that you can and hope that those 2 things take root. Levis, Skoronski, Tajay Spears, those are foundational pieces that they're counting on.
It was literally the only avenue they had to field a competitive roster in 2024. The only one.
So, again, context in every year, important, even though I understand kind of what you're saying.
You understand Titans fans being tired of the veteran big-name free agents that have come here and done nothing, right? The Randy Mosses and Jadeveon Clowneys and Julio Jones of the world.
Well, it's funny because Titans fans are used to an organization that did not spend for free agents during the time of Bud Adams, and were regarded as one of the cheaper organizations and, in fact, content to let players walk rather than pay players. So you're talking about 2 different things in 2 different eras, and I think, a lot of things that you were incorrect about in your assessment. But that's neither here nor there.
Thank you for the call.
Yes, do call back. Joe is up next. Hey, Joe.
What up, folks? Hey, just want to put it out there. Not too long ago, Johnny Money, I believe, come in with the Browns and beat them. And so did a rookie that they brought in named Zach Wilson. I think the Titans lost to them also. If y'all want to make a comment about it, love your show. Take care. On the backside.
Thank you. Zach Wilson was a rookie?
Yeah.
When they went to New York and because Corey Davis had one good game as a Jet and a game against the Titans.
Yes.
That's right.
The rookie quarterback, plague has been a thing against this franchise. Now, quick trivia. Who's the last rookie number 1 overall draft pick to win his week 1 starting debut?
Ooh. The last one to do so. Because their record is like 1-15 in the last 16 games.
1-14-1.
1-14-1.
Yeah, Kyler Murray tied, which is awesome.
Oh, that's so gross.
Credit to Joseph Bonanno and Jackson Williams, who hit me with this trivia question on the way out of yesterday when I was leaving the building. But can you tell me?
I can't. Kyler Murray tying in his first game, though, is hideous.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Hideous.
David Carr. David Carr is the answer.
No, wait. Marcus Mariota won his debut.
Yes, the number 2 overall pick. I said number 1.
That's right.
Number 1. You just did what Tom did.
I did what Tom did. Excellent. Anyway, so the odds are in your favor. Even if you got a little bit of it used to be backup quarterbacks that they were haunted by. More recently, it seems like rookie quarterbacks is what's haunting you because Mac Jones got you in that season, I think, as well. At New England, that was a game that they were trying to go out there and win. That was like Dontrell Hilliard and Deontay Foreman's first game as Titans, and they damn near won it, as a matter of fact, but came up short. Anyway, we'll take more of your phone calls. Jamie Erdahl of Good Morning Football is going to join us at 11:20. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We will get to some NFL headlines. You guys want to talk about the Titans, though? Bears game on the horizon. Thursday Night Football tonight. Chiefs and the Ravens. A huge AFC game with a lot of different implications. We'll see who comes out the better for it and the worse for it. What do we think Bert's state of being is going to be tomorrow? Because I'm hoping for just totally shattered. Not because I'm rooting against the Ravens necessarily. In fact, I'd like to see Derrick Henry and the Ravens go to Kansas City and win. But I would like Bert to experience some trauma tonight watching his Ravens for no other purposes but content.
I asked Bert this morning on the shift change if he was excited for tonight. He said, "I'm just ready to get this over with," and walked out the door.
That's a true fan.
I'm even giving him prime time a half hour early so that he can have the game and not be I mean, it's not like he's paying attention to what I'm doing on prime time anyway. Half the time he's naked and playing video games. But I think that there is a lot of angst inside that giant red pink human being right now, and I'm concerned about it because he's a ticking time bomb health-wise anyway.
It's the beauty of week one. We're going to do predictions and picks later on for Super Bowl and things like that. But
yeah, football.
Week one, no earthly idea.
Not a clue.
No idea what's going to happen. Think back to 2 seasons ago. Was it Bills-Rams?
Yes.
Season opener.
Rams smacked them. Bills
smacked them.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis just went crazy and then did nothing the rest of the season. So, yeah, week one a liar, as we've said.
Enjoy that, Jags fans. Robert is up next. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Buck. Happy Thursday.
To you, too.
Hey, the question was about Traylon Burks, and it doesn't look like killing hogs with a dull butter knife transfers to the NFL as a wide receiver. I just remember all the hoopla about how he's a hog killer, he's tough. Yeah, okay. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is Jalen Daniels of the Commanders. He'll be the Rookie of the Year and first rookie to win the Super Bowl.
Ooh,
yay!
A commies fan among us. A commie in our midst. Spoiler alert, I also have Jaden Daniels winning the Rookie of the Year. Because we're going to
And
do
the
that.
Super Bowl.
Not the Super Bowl. Not the Super Bowl.
Coward.
Although, I will say, well, no, we'll save that. We'll save that. But I do think Jaden Daniels has the potential to be the NFL Rookie of the Year. Anyway, headlines?
It's time for headlines with Lucas Panzica.
Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase participated in practice on Wednesday. He was part of our headline segment yesterday because he had not shown up as the Bengals prepare to open the season against the New England Patriots on Sunday. He was listed as a limited participant. It's his first practice since resuming his hold-in amid a contract dispute that he is currently in with the Cincinnati Bengals. He and T. Higgins were among the last ones to walk out to practice. You saw the video as they're walking across the street. I don't know what the deal is with the Bengals practice facility. They're walking across an asphalt street to the facility. It's like they got dropped off by a bus or something, or by their parents, and they're walking helmet in hand. It was a very weird
pads, guys.
Yeah, weird visual. I'm just used to seeing Titans players streaming straight out of the facility right onto the practice field.
No, it turns out they got to walk a city block to get to their practice facility from the facility.
I saw a lot of that on social media. Like, can somebody explain the situation with the Bengals? Anyway, Jamar Chase at practice. Still don't know what his plan is going to be with the opener. Zach Taylor was asked about the game plan and if they have to stay flexible if he decides not to play. He said, quote, "We'll see if that ends up happening, but whatever happens, we'll be prepared for it." So he's out there, which I suppose is a good sign. Joe Burrow saying he's always been a team first, win first kind of guy, but who knows if he's going to play. Probably a decent indicator that he will if he showed up yesterday.
Hassan Reddick sounds like he's getting ready to hold out games, like actual games for the Jets. I would be surprised if T. Higgins didn't play in their opener against the Patriots. Is that who they have week one?
Yes, thank you for listening.
I try. But with Chase, I understand that there are several different layers to the contract negotiations about all the finer details, all the fine print in a contract, that it actually takes this time, that it's not just, all right, well, you saw what Justin Jefferson got, give him more, right? There are some things that have to be worked through. But if he's comfortable enough to show up at practice, then he's comfortable enough with his status. At least that's how I would read it. That his agent, that his half of the negotiations is comfortable enough to say, okay, this has been somewhat contentious. We're not going to leave them waiting in the wings. We're going to be a good faith negotiator here, and we're going to participate. So based on that, I would think that that Jamar Chase is more likely to play.
Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert says his foot is 100%. He is going to play against the Las Vegas Raiders in week 1. He missed pretty much all of training camp, did not play in the preseason, and says he's good to go. Now, we saw this early in training camp last year when Joe Burrow picked up the calf injury, didn't really participate, and then he came back. He was not 100%, ended up hurting his wrist. That's actually what ruled Burrow out for the rest of the season. So, not that those situations are at all the same with Herbert. This is a foot injury, but just something to keep an eye on. Says he's 100% and good to go.
I think the Chargers are going to be terrible.
Terrible?
I think they're going to be terrible.
Who's he going to throw to?
Who are the star football players on that team besides the quarterback? And if you get to the second star on that team and you give me a tackle, I'm going to laugh at you.
Yeah, Joe Alt or Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, and Alt might be third because
who's wide receiver 1? Josh Palmer, Ladd McConkey.
Feels like it's Palmer.
They're obviously going to run the football. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards make up their stable of backs at the moment.
When has J.K. Dobbins been able to do the actual thing that football players do? Very rarely in his career. Derwin James is not that good of a football player. Or at least he hasn't been lately. That's a guy that feels like we're getting into Jamal Adams territory with a name that that used to be really, really good and has since kind of tailed off. Now, could he rebound? Potentially. Bosa also. The Nick Bosa is the infinitely better Bosa as of late.
Yeah.
And Khalil Mack is getting up there in age. Did have a nice, didn't he have like a 6-sack performance or something like that last year? Anyway, has the stats, but I don't know if he is still that player. I don't know that he's still that star edge rusher. Doesn't mean that he's not good anymore, but I'm looking at the Chargers and seeing them pick up a bunch of Titans leftovers and thinking, what the hell is that football team going to be? That's who you're chasing after Mahomes with in the division? No. No, thank you.
Some good news, because we did not talk about this. Obviously, it was a very scary situation in San Francisco with rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, the first-round draft pick out of Florida, who, if you missed it, was walking alone to his car last Saturday after doing some shopping. This is middle of the day, 3:30 in the afternoon, and he was shot during an attempted robbery. According to ESPN, the suspect allegedly spotted Pearsall for his Rolex watch. A struggle ensued. Gunfire from the suspect's firearm struck both Pearsall and the teenager who was shot in the arm. Pearsall was shot through the chest at close range. His mother posted on social media that the bullet went through the right side of Pearsall's chest and out his back without striking any vital organs. He was released on Sunday from San Francisco General Hospital after this happened on Saturday and was back at the facility on Monday. 49ers GM John Lynch said Tuesday that he did return to the facility Monday. The Niners placed Pearsall on the non-football injury list, so they're going to give him time to recover from the shooting, as well as a shoulder injury that was limiting him in the summer. And the teenager was apprehended, the suspect, and is now going through the legal process. But just incredibly good news for Ricky Pearsall to walk out of the hospital the next day and be back at the facility on Monday. Very scary situation.
We didn't talk about the Johnny Gaudreau death. Him and his brother getting hit by a drunk driver while they were on bicycles in their hometown getting ready to attend their sister's wedding. That there could have been two of those tragedies. I mean, I can't even imagine what the tenor around. I mean, because think about the Vikings corner that passed away tragically over Memorial Day weekend. Then you have the situation with Ricky Pearsall, which is a literal, as close to a near-death experience as one could possibly have and come away not unscathed, obviously, but not so worse for the wear. Wow. If you depending on where you find your faith, or if you are a person of faith or whatever, I can't imagine what the Pearsall family is feeling right now. So
or the Goudreau family.
Fortunately, yeah, that's a entirely different set of emotions. No graceful way to transition from that, but Derrick Henry will make his Ravens debut tonight. The Titans' run game will make its debut without Derrick Henry on Sunday. What will that look like? We'll talk about it coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you, just like they have helped so many guys where it comes to erectile dysfunction or any of the issues that they're dealing with, whether it's low T or erectile dysfunction. ED is something that a lot of dudes deal with. And I was just over at the Tennessee Men's Clinic at their Franklin location the other day to learn all about the different protocols that they have available to treat ED issues. There are so many horror stories of people who get irreversible surgery because they go directly to a doctor to seek help, and there's only so many options that they can offer you. Do not go through irreversible surgery to treat your ED before you have talked to the experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They specialize in men's sexual health issues. It's all they do. This makes them the experts in the field. And they have access to multiple protocols and options to treat your ED based on your specific needs and what's going on in your body. Don't trust your health to an online pharmacy, and don't feel like you are out of options. We want you to understand all your options for treating ED, and the Tennessee Men's Clinic's protocols are patient-centered and customized to your needs. They have treatments for everything from low testosterone, ED, treatments that can increase size and stamina, and everything else in between. So schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location, or you can call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
11:04. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The first injury report of the season came out on Wednesday. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, a limited participant with a knee injury. Linebacker Otis Reese was limited with a concussion, and safety Jamal Adams did not practice with a hip. Quarterback Will Levis met with the media after practice. He was asked what he hopes Titans fans will see from him on Sunday in Chicago.
I think that I'd just love for them to think I look, just more comfortable out there. Just like I'm seeing things well, and that's my goal as well, is to go into this week with that confidence, knowing that I have made those improvements and I've been able to see things better and just make good decisions with the football. So I just hope to, just to do that, and for my teammates especially, just to put that on film for them.
The NFL season kicks off tonight. The Baltimore Ravens visit the Kansas City Chiefs. Kickoff is at 7:20 at Arrowhead Stadium. Westwood One coverage right here on The Zone starts at 7. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour is upon us. Welcome in. We're happy to have you. Jamie Erdahl of Good Morning Football is going to be here in about 15 minutes from now. You guys are Team Jamie, it seems like, in the last couple of days, because she's been Team U. She's been Team Titan. She thinks that they are going to make a return to the playoffs, and I don't think that it's that far out of the realm of possibility. We'll talk to Jamie about why she thinks Tennessee is more competitive than they're being giving credit for elsewhere. At 11:20 today, Derrick Henry debuts with the Ravens tonight, which means that Derrick Henry will not be on the Titans roster, which means that somebody else will be carrying the football for the Tennessee Titans against the Chicago Bears. You knew this. You paid Tony Pollard a lot of money.
What? I'm imagining the one fan that hasn't paid attention to anything, doesn't have any social media.
Buddy, since that guy, the day of the draft, I just, I'm assuming that just because we have to pay attention to this stuff every day, everybody else, maybe you're just checking back in. I don't know.
Flipped on the radio for the first time since December.
Tony Pollard's a Titan?
Swerving off the road.
They paid him how much?
This roster?
A running back? Yes, that's a thing. Tajay Spears, also here. And so a part of the conversation that we have had in some form or fashion over the last 6 months is, what's it going to look like? Who's running back one? Is there a running back one? What Brian Callahan says is it's 1A, 1B. There's pretty interchangeable in this system, and I'll take him at his word with that until such time as I see otherwise. But it is a Titans running game without Derrick Henry for the first time in 8 years. Now, I know Derrick Henry wasn't the featured back for all of those 8 years that he was on the Titans roster because it took him some time to break through. We know this. I mean, the first full Derrick Henry feels like Derrick Henry season really wasn't until 2019.
Full season, right.
Full season. Because in 18, remember, again, in that Patriots game, Deion Lewis, and then David Fluellen getting some snaps over Derrick Henry at the time.
Yeah, wasn't until halfway through 2018.
Felt like. In fact, that Chargers game in London felt like a bit of a breakthrough. Anyway, so with the Titans and their rushing attack, there has been, much like we talked about with Denard Wilson. What was the conversation we had around Denard Wilson? Titans fans see a Ravens defensive back coach hired. You assume that he is going to run the Ravens defense. Wrong. He is going to run Greg Williams' defense, which is a much different defense than Mike McDonald called in 2023. Now, is it going to be exclusively Greg Williams, Todd Bowles? No. There are probably going to be some things that look familiar from the Baltimore Ravens, but also this is somebody whose background has primarily been with the Jets, has primarily been with Todd Bowles, and also had some experience under Greg Williams, spent only a year with the Eagles and then a year with the Ravens before coming here to be the DC. In that same mold, you see Bengals offense, you think passing. You think 3 wide receiver sets, which you'd be correct about, and you don't necessarily associate that team with volume running the football, even though running the football was a huge part of their game. Joe Mixon is a volume player while he was with the Cincinnati Bengals under Brian Callahan's offense, and I think Tony Pollard might just be that. This was Brian Callahan talking about Tony Pollard. This was his Monday press conference, not the press conference that he gave yesterday, getting everybody ready for Bears Week.
1 second.
Nope. Okay. At least you told me. I appreciate that.
Instead of just silence. I suppose that's
okay.
better.
No, that's better. That's you know what? 4 months, incremental improvement. That's all I'm asking for. It's just like training camp. Training camp for everybody. Oh, damn it.
Probably the best way to put it. Between him and Tajay, they're exactly what we're looking for. They both have the ability to be kind of three-pronged players where they run it very, very well. They're very good in the pass game, and they can protect. And they do all three of those things at a very high level. And so I think we got two backs that I'm really excited to see and use. But they fit exactly what we're looking for in this particular brand of offense. And they both got explosive capabilities. They can both find lanes in the run game. They both run hard, even though they're not gigantic backs. They're big enough, and they run hard enough to, I guess is the best way to put it. They run with their pads behind them, and it's a good group, and they're going to be a huge part of our offensive success is how well those guys fit into the system. And like I said, they're both about as good as I could ask for fit.
Now, Jackson ran me over with the start of it. Do you want to play just the start of it again?
Perfect is probably the best way to put it. Between him and Tajay, they're exactly what we're looking for.
Perfect. Tony Pollard, in the preseason and training camp at least, looks like running back one to me. Now, it doesn't. I think that there's probably going to end up being a 60-40 split. Who that ends up being in favor of is probably going to play itself out. But I do think that through training camp in the preseason, Tony Pollard has looked better to my untrained eye. Now, there's going to be a million different things that the coaching staff sees that I don't. And they're also going to have different applications for them, obviously, than they did in front of fans and media at training camp and in the preseason when it's just vanilla stuff. 252 carries last year, 1,005 rushing yards for Tony Pollard, 6 touchdowns, averaged about 4 yards per carry.
And that was considered a bit of a step back for Tony Pollard.
It took him a while to get to that level post-injury. And then he's really, when you look at his numbers, there is a significant difference in his production in the first 3 quarters versus the fourth quarter. And maybe that's just a style or a product of how Dallas played or how Dallas got up on teams and then was able to run the ball effectively to hold on to their leads and stuff like that. But the best version of Tony Pollard, I don't know that we've necessarily seen that yet, given what he was behind in Dallas for a portion of his career. And then the fact that it never really, he was the Zeke successor, but it never really broke through that way. You saw the signs of a special player. So I think that Tony Pollard is going to be a really, really interesting figure in all of this. And I'd probably go 60-40 in favor of Pollard this year if you made me guess before week 1.
Yeah, do they lean on experience in a lot of moments? They're going to ride the hot hand. But my question is, when they need a yard, right? When it's 3rd and 1 and they just want to run it in there and just get to the 49 and keep the chains moving on a critical drive, who are they giving the ball to?
I think it's Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think there's more of a sample size of him running between the tackles from his time in Dallas than what you have with Tajay Spears, who has a skill set of his own. But that split is, top 3 most interesting things to monitor with this offense on Sunday, right? Like how J.C. Latham plays. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Will Levis. But when they take the field, for me, the Pollard-Spears split is going to be fascinating.
Sure. I would probably go what's Burks look like if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play. But the running game, I think, is as important to the success of this team in this specific game, winning on the road, running the football on the road to try and take the atmosphere out of the game. Because there's no better way to suppress a crowd than just running the air out of the football as an offense on the road that way.
And this team runs the football. Like the Bengals ran the football.
Correct.
Joe Mixon had 257 carries last year.
I think people are losing sight of that. And by the way, Pollard is also a receiver. More of a receiver than I think we're giving him credit for based on his Dallas body of work. I've seen him make some pretty impressive catches. Now he's a high-level athlete. He's a professional athlete. And so all of them are capable of something to an extent. But The guy had 55 receptions on 66 targets, so a really high receiving success rate. A lot of it checkdowns because it's only 311 yards and 3 drops in the middle of that. Juxtapose that with Tajay Spears, who had 52 receptions last year and was, I mean, when you look at the splits between him and Derek, just in terms of touches, it was a lot more even than I think people realize in real time. So what's the run game going to look like without Derrick Henry? It's going to look different. But my position would be, I think this is going to be an infinitely more efficient rushing attack because of what they're going to do in the passing game. And also because they have invested a lot of money in dudes who specialize in kicking your ass on their offensive line. Cushenberry, Skoronski, J.C. Latham are all those type of dudes that the Titans used to have on an offensive line, right? Whether it's Ben Jones and Taylor Lewan, Roger Saffold, right? Legitimate beef. So my expectation is a lot of rushing attempts for both teams in this game, and I would expect the Titans to try and do it a little bit more efficiently. Jamie Erdahl, Good Morning Football. She's next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Good morning football. God knows what you have to be fueled with to do morning television. Jamie Erdahl is excellent at it. She joins us now here on 104.5 The Zone. You can catch her and the rest of the crew on Good Morning Football Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time on the NFL Network. She also hosts Good Morning Football Overtime, which you can catch at 9 a.m. Central on the Roku channel. And here in Nashville, Fox 17 has it, 5 a.m. Central Time locally. Jamie, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys? I certainly don't have hot chicken before I host any morning TV shows, but I will not disclose my secrets.
It's a risky proposition. Lucas insists on having a full spread of hot chicken every day before we sit in the same studio together for 3 hours.
How small is that studio? That sounds very dangerous.
You know, it's bigger than your average local radio studio. We have a good degree of separation between us, but again, a full plate of hot chicken every day.
It's a labor of love, Jamie.
It's just, Hattie B's is the best.
Imagine. That takes commitment.
So we're happy that you took some time. I know you've had a full work day ahead, and I know you've got a million different things going on because it is week one and everybody's excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know that Titans fans existed before you picked them to go to the playoffs this year?
Well, I just spent the last 2 years sitting next to Jason McCourty, so I had a sense about what the Titans were about after his time in Tennessee. So, yes, but wow, I have experienced some love that, let's just say, from other fan bases, I have not received in my first 2 years on GMFB the way that I was just received by Titans fans in the last 24 hours.
I do. So sitting next to McCourty as you did, and of course Jason and you guys and the new look cast and since the show has relaunched has also been so much fun to follow along with. But they have been slighted, Titans fans, or at least they feel they've been slighted, especially by the big bad national media. So anytime one of you guys swoops into their defense, just something like, well, they might make the playoffs this year, you have no idea what that does for them, Jamie.
Well, I am thrilled to take part in that, even if I am one of a few. It really started for me a couple of years back. I used to be on the NFL and CBS sideline, and I was on the third crew. You know, this isn't Nance, Romo, and Wolfson. This is Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and myself. And I used to have a lot of Titans games, and I always enjoyed going there. I thought the fans were fantastic. I don't understand why those teams over the years weren't able to build into something more powerful. It's a fantastic place to live. The free agent market, I was just kind of waiting for any general manager to tap into. I had the Titans game last fall in London. I got to know Rand Carthon a little bit on that trip, and the decisions that he has made, knowing what he came from in San Francisco to then arrive in Tennessee and make those decisions, I'm fully bought in. Now, I put you into the playoffs. I'm not saying you're winning the division. You know, it's tough going. You guys are going up against an NFC North schedule that is really challenging, but crazier things have happened. It's not like this is some crazy off the radar thing. I believe Titans can be in.
Well, and it's completely taken with that context because they've been godforsaken the last 2 years, Jamie. I mean, you guys know what the landscape has looked like because they were a level of competitiveness that did threaten teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens in the AFC, and then that didn't last as long as Titans fans would have liked, and, you know, not quite bottoming out. They haven't been the worst team in football, but they have been struggling to keep their heads above water, and it's tough to screw up this much cap space and top of the order draft capital the way that they have, but it does feel like, at least locally, fans are behind it because they are checking all the right boxes around Will Levis. What is your view of him, having covered the SEC, obviously, and familiar with him since he's been in the league?
I got a really cool sense from him when he was at Kentucky. I did a handful of his games, and he always just has had this vibe about him. And what I loved about his commercial that came out this summer was how the way he committed to that and how authentically sarcastic that was. That is him. That is who he was in production meetings when he was at Kentucky. So the fact that Rand Carthon drafted this young man, you know, whatever quarterback situation he was in before, Rand comes along and says, be who you are. I don't need you to be Ryan Tannehill. I don't need you to be Marcus Mariota. I want you to be authentically Will Levis. And I would assume that he's expecting that his comfort level will then transpire on the football field. So I was all in on this commercial that came out. People don't understand what that took for Will Levis to put his personality out there. I know it seems like such a small thing, but for him to dedicate a day and put his name on something like that, to me, it just means that Will Levis is owning his personality, who he is, the fixture that he could possibly become within this offense and with the city. And it fits. For some reason, there's always going to be this team. Kyle Brandt and I were just talking about this on the show, that there's massive turnover in the playoffs, in the ecosystem of the playoffs. Teams that make it oftentimes don't carry over to the next season. So why not the Titans in this perspective? If you're going to look at teams that were outside the bubble last year, you have to pick somebody that's got to go back in, and I picked Tennessee.
The show, of course, that she's referring to is Good Morning Football. You can catch it Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time on the NFL Network.
Well, Jamie, when people talk about the Titans and this idea that they could make a push into the postseason with this kind of surprise in their voice, I think Titans fans hear that and they say, well, yeah, we better make some sort of push to the postseason with all of the money that was spent, all of the moves that were made. Was there one in particular that caught your eye that maybe really made you notice what Ran Carthon was doing throughout the course of the offseason? One move in particular you think could really be a difference maker for the Titans down the stretch?
I think anybody that walks into a room with a Super Bowl ring and Super Bowl experience like L'Jarius Sneed did from Kansas City is going to make your locker room, you sit up a little straighter. You know, if someone walks onto our show or onto our set and you have won an Emmy, you're like, I'm going to make sure my questions are on the P's and Q's. I'm going to make sure I got my grammar all correct. Like, you have L'Jarius Sneed come in, having come off of Super Bowl experience, being in a room with Mahomes and coached under Andy Reid, played for Andy Reid. That is some serious chops when it comes to a football locker room. So I love the Sneed addition, but then for Sneed to speak so emotionally about how things transpired when he left Kansas City and the fact that that was his first love and he wanted to stay there. They gave me Super Bowl rings. L'Jarius Sneed wants to go and, I would think, recreate that somewhere. And if you have something like that, that is magical. And my secondary point to that would just be, I think a lot of stuff went down in Dallas with Tony Pollard. I think he is an awesome running back. Went about his business with Derrick Henry and obviously went out and chose Tony. But for Tony Pollard to come off of the Cowboys and their baggage when it comes to the postseason, you just have a handful of players that can have playoff experience. And when you can't replace that, when you have guys of leadership playing on teams, and I just think it all fits right now for Tennessee.
Jamie Erdahl, the host of Good Morning Football, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So as far as Week 1 matchups go, that's tough to beat Ravens and Chiefs tonight, of course. But intrigue, Tennessee and Chicago, not a marquee matchup, but there are a lot of fascinating components here. And I wonder where you would kind of rank that in this Week 1 slate.
I do think there's intrigue because you essentially have the Caleb Williams experience, and everyone and their mother wants this thing to take off until it skyrocket into the universe. It would be great for TV networks. It would be great for Bears fans. But to me, both of these teams, you know, the hand, it hovers around the panic button a little bit too early if you're a Bears fan or a Titans fan. So if the Bears lose to the Titans, you're like, oh, is the world ending already? Do we have another quarterback situation? What is happening with us? We were on Hard Knocks. I thought we were going to be the darling. What happened here? If the Titans lose, are you just backsliding into, well, look at what we couldn't do with the cap space that we spent, and look at all this money, and is Will Levis even our guy? And now he was messing around this offseason making Mayo commercials. It's amazing how quickly things can change after 1 week. So I look at this quarterback situation specifically between Caleb Williams, the darling in the quarterback room, and Will Levis, who was fighting for his starting spot last year. He has finally made it, but how can he secure it? I think there's a lot of intrigue in this matchup.
Of course, you mentioned Tony Pollard and Ran Carthon bringing him here. Derrick Henry going to the Ravens in free agency, where he will debut against the Chiefs tonight. I got dragged yesterday, Jamie, because I said Derrick looks better in the Ravens colors than he does in Titans uniform, and the Titans fans killed me. Can you confirm or deny?
I just think that sometimes, you know, I just moved to Los Angeles. I have a different pep in my step because I around every day. I got the sunshine flowing. Sometimes it's okay just to say someone looks refreshed in a new setting. So I think Derrick Henry looks refreshed wearing purple. Why would people drag you like that? Are they bitter that he left? Are they just dragging you because they don't want him to succeed somewhere else?
Oh, they hate the Ravens, Jamie. They hate the Ravens.
And they also just generally enjoy me getting dragged. I think there's also a component of that.
Well, you think too much of yourself to think that it involves you in any way.
Perpetually, that's how this works.
Well, then then no one watched the show. So I did pick the Ravens to win the Super Bowl today on the show.
There it is.
Jamie, you mentioned your time covering the SEC on CBS, of course. Your former partners with that coverage, Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, will continue on, but they're moving up to the Big Ten, and so we will hear that iconic theme music,
Are they moving
Jamie.
up? Are they moving up to the Big Ten?
Directionally, I think. They're moving north to the Big Ten.
Yes, it's directionally correct, yes.
So when we hear that iconic theme music, Jamie, we're going to be getting ready for Rutgers and Iowa and Ohio State and Penn State, and it's very jarring for a lot of people, of course, in the Southeastern Conference footprint. Curious for you as a former, member of that crew, what will that be like for you to see the CBS Game of the Week now be in the Big Ten?
I would be lying to you if I said it wasn't strange. It was strange for me not to be on, the Alabama-LSU game when I left that crew and I came to Good Morning Football. So the departure for me from the SEC was, hard in and of itself, but to see the whole brand move away from the SEC, they don't pay me to make programming decisions at CBS. Obviously, they have faith in the Big Ten as a brand, and the reigning national champions came out of the conference, so it is strong and good football. It's more from a historical football context. It's just a sad day to see the SEC no longer being played in that really special and beloved CBS window, 3:30 in the afternoons on Saturdays. Now, am I not going to watch Brad and Gary on Rutgers, UCLA? No, I will absolutely still be watching it. But it's a bummer. It was a bummer for me to see it move on and after come to a close last season. And you're right. I'm cheering it on for size.
She is Jamie Erdahl. She's the host of Good Morning Football, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time on the NFL Network. You can also check her out here locally in Nashville on Fox 17, Good Morning Football Overtime there. Jamie, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We know you're slammed right now. Enjoy the football tonight, and we'll look forward to tomorrow's show.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, you guys.
That's Jamie Erdahl of Good Morning Football, the latest national media member to have the rare Titans fan support because she picked you to do something and you're excited about it.
For her to use Rutgers versus UCLA as an example of the Big Ten Game of the Week physically brought me pain.
God. She's lying. She's lying. She's not going to enjoy that. She's not going to watch that. None of us are going to watch that. UCLA and Rutgers? No. This music does not belong behind Indiana football highlights. I'm an alumni. I don't want that on Indiana games. It doesn't belong there. Don't sully that music. Goodness gracious. Also, can I say something? When we have female guests in football on the radio show, I feel like I need to chastise the chat. You all are disgusting. Not all of you. Not each and every one of you, but behave yourselves. Comport yourselves. We didn't even put Jamie on Zoom like we did Carmen earlier in the week because we were scared of the reaction that the chat still managed to have with a phone call. So do better, be better, those of you who are lecherous and disgusting.
Yes, thank you for drawing attention to the lowest level percentage of our YouTube chat.
I feel like somebody needs to tell them that they're doing things wrong because last time we just glossed over it and it was gross with Carmen. It's gross when Diana comes on. It's gross when Mina comes on. Every time. Do better, YouTube.
Well, just write a message to them. Don't subject our radio audience to it.
Okay, very good. So, do we feel like Jamie's analysis is accurate about where this team is heading, their level of self-belief, the money that they've invested, and the expectations that should come, as Lucas said in his question, with the money that they've spent, right? They've done all of this stuff. Is this a team that we believe, if healthy enough, keyword, if healthy enough, can make the postseason? I am going to wait till tomorrow to tell you whether I'm going to pick them to make the playoffs or not. We're going to get into the Titans stuff specifically, But there does seem, I mean, you are correct in having those level of expectations if you are a Titans fan. Your team has suffered. Your team has struggled. They fired everybody that was associated with the suffering and the struggling. They sent the rest of the pieces and parts either to free agency scrap heaps like Tannehill or to the Baltimore Ravens like Derek. And everything that they've done has been in service of trying to earn those expectations. Callahan has talked about this. Earning pressure. Levis has talked about this. They want to earn the right to have some kind of expectations around them in ways that it's tough for Titans team to ever earn expectations, right? It's a rare enough thing. That's why Titans fans freak out when somebody like Jamie picks them to make the playoffs, because nobody ever has that level of expectation for them ever. Why? Because they're the Titans.
I was watching yesterday the 30 for 30 about that Ravens. Was it Bullies of Baltimore? Was that the name of it? The Ravens Super Bowl team?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
That obviously beat the Titans. Yes, Bullies of Baltimore. Thank you, Jackson. And it struck me as I'm watching it, the clips that they play, because the Titans are heavily featured in that 30 for 30. Obviously, that was a huge part of the Ravens' journey that season. They were the first ever team to beat the Titans at Adelphia Coliseum, beat the Titans on their way to the Super Bowl. I know, painful memories. I'm not trying to drum those up. But Brian Billick, the Ravens head coach at the time, in his post-game speech, after beating the Titans, held up a Sports Illustrated magazine to show to his team. The cover of the magazine said, "The best team in football, the Tennessee Titans." Oh. And Brian Billick's whole post-game speech was, they might be the best team in football, but not today. And then all the Ravens went nuts, and they talk about that speech, and Billick talked about how pivotal a moment that was in their season. And I was watching that last night, thinking about how we were going to come in here today and talk about how there's never expectations for the Titans, and nobody wants to talk about the Titans. And it's just crazy to think how that was the situation at the very beginning.
Yeah.
The best team in football. They were the standard in a way that you didn't beat the Titans at Adelphia Coliseum. You just didn't until the Ravens did. And that's one of the, more legendary Super Bowl runs, Super Bowl teams in recent NFL history. So it's just so crazy how that's evolved to this point. Yes, Titans fans should have expectations this season.
Well, and we'll wrap up with this, but tell me how this hits you. I almost think of them and this market with its college team, the Vols, and its pro team, the Titans. I almost think of them as Miami, but reverse, where the Dolphins have not done any winning of consequence for a long, long time, but they were the institution. Don Shula is one of the most famous people in the state of Florida in the sport of football because of the winning and the history that the Miami Dolphins are associated with. Whereas the Canes they're more of a fad than I think a lot of people want to give them credit for, because it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was really, really interesting for a period of time, and they had some great teams, and they won a lot during that time period, but that's been the anomaly in the history of Miami Hurricanes football. Whereas Tennessee, it's reversed. It's the Vols that have the tradition. It's the Vols that are generationally an institution with you, and the Titans were that fad in that first year because they hit the ground running right out of the gate. They're in the Super Bowl. They're what was it, 7 straight at Adelphia Coliseum when they opened the stadium.
Yeah, they didn't have that institutional, deep-rooted, 100%.
So they're more the shooting star in this situation, and the Vols are the institution. So it's kind of like the reverse Miami to me. And I'm curious to see whether the Titans can ever have that level of foothold. Most of it is just time spent, right? We're coming up on 26 seasons of Tennessee Titans football, and the Vols have been around for 100 years.
Wonder if the Dolphins spit in the face of Canes fans
all the time. 615-737-1045 is the number. Speaking of which, the underdog mentality is an advantage. You'll hear from Jeff Simmons next. Let's get to some phone calls, 615-737-1045, before you hear from Jeff Simmons on the underdog mentality and how it plays to your advantage here in this game against the Bears. Let's go to RJ up next.
What's going on, man? First of all, thank you to whoever's running the Zone app, because that's the only way I can keep up with the Titans and the Vols out here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Wait. This is RJ in Phoenix. It must be football season. It makes me so happy to hear your voice, bud.
You better know it is. Let's go. So, with the Vols, right, first of all, is it shuffle pass or shovel pass? Let's get that out the way, Buck. Is it shovel or shuffle?
It's a shovel.
V.
Shoot it into the sun. Never run it again. I don't want to see it again.
Okay.
All right, so Nico is giving me the arm of he's giving me the accuracy of Hooker, but he can fling it just with a flick, like your boy used to do, the trash dude. I even forgot his name.
Milton.
The Titans fans, don't worry about the national media. I'm so far away from Nashville, and they showing us no love. Use it to your advantage. Take the 4.5 this week. Take the 6 over 6.5 for the season. I've been saying it all off. 6.5? We're definitely winning more than 6. It's Vegas. Vegas knows the world is betting Chicago, so they only have to pay the people of Nashville. Don't worry about that. It's a money grab for you guys. Get your money. Let's go, Titans.
Thanks for the call, RJ. Good to have you back, bud. So, accuracy of Nico and arm of Milton?
Oh.
You like that?
I mean, he can't throw it out of the stadium like Joe can. Nobody can. But you will sacrifice that for...
I think I said accuracy of Nico. Accuracy of Hooker.
Of Hooker, yes. Arm strength of Milton.
Yes.
Nobody on this planet, I think, has the arm strength of Joe Milton.
Not a soul.
But you would sacrifice the ability to throw it out of Neyland Stadium for a rhythmic and accurate, consistent, up-tempo passing game, which Nico displayed against UT Chattanooga. He's going to have to do it against a ranked team at a neutral site on Saturday against NC State.
Spend more time on that tomorrow as we talk about a big weekend of college football, not just for SEC teams, but writ large. So, speaking to the underdog mentality that RJ has referenced and that we've heard the Titans talk about, be asked about a million times over, year in, year out, right? Always the underdog. Hell, they're only favored in one game this year. That's at home against the New England Patriots, whose quarterback situation looks questionable at best right now. So, how does it feel to be the underdog yet again if you're somebody like Jeff Simmons? Well, I asked Jeff Simmons that yesterday after practice. This is what he had to say.
I mean, since I've been here, we've always been an underdog. No one expects us to do anything. But I think the mindset that we have in this locker room, we have enough. Everybody in our locker room believe it. We could compete with anybody in this league, no matter who on their roster, no matter who at quarterback, no matter the receiver they didn't got. It's our job to go out there and perform. And I'm very confident in our guys. I'm confident in the defensive side and the offensive side to make sure that we come out this game with a win.
So that's Jeff Simmons after practice yesterday. I'm agreeing with RJ in that I can't bet on the NFL as an NFL reporter, but if I was betting with your money, I would sure as hell bet over 6.5 on the season win total, and I wouldn't bet the money line. Titans. I have no idea whether they're good enough to actually win this game. We're going to find that out in real time on Sunday against Chicago. So I wouldn't bet the money line, but I would definitely bet them plus the 4.5. 4.5 for a rookie quarterback. I know he's at home. I know that he's good. I know that we think he's going to be really good. But 4.5 is a big number for the Bears to have to cover in that spot. And the Titans do nothing but play close games. Maybe that's just a thing under Mike Vrabel. Maybe it's going to be have a little bit more variance under Brian Callahan. Again, there's a bunch of unknowns, but 4.5, Titans plus 4.5 feels like a pretty safe bet this weekend.
What's the safer bet? Titans plus 4.5 or Titans over 6.5 wins?
6.5 wins.
Yeah, the second one.
I think 6.5
To
wins.
be one game better than the roster last year that somehow found 6 wins, yeah, I think that should feel pretty secure for Titans fans after everything they've done.
Do you like when the Vols are an underdog? Do you think about it at all? Or is it just about that's the opponent, that's who they're playing? Like Alabama, you know why you're an underdog in years past. Georgia, you understand why you're an underdog in years past, but maybe A&M's favored in a game against you. And you think, Jimbo Fisher, we got this, or something like that. Or LSU, Brian Kelly. Were they favored in that game?
LSU definitely was favored.
At home.
Yeah, 3.5, I think, was the spread.
This is 11 o'clock.
No, that was, it was in Vegas against USC. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about
the Vols.
when Tennessee
I'm talking about
played
from
LSU?
your perspective. As a Tennessee fan, do you like when your team has the underdog vibe going, where nobody thinks that the Vols can go in and win in a big spot? And, maybe lately or more recently, they have been able to capitalize on that than in years past. But do you like that as a fan of your team?
I guess I've never cared. It's never even been a part of the thought process for me.
I was just going to say for you guys know the one team that I root for is Indiana basketball. I don't ever think about that. I just think, okay, Michigan State. Now, college basketball is a vastly different sport than college football or the NFL. So any road game is a game that you almost expect to lose in a big spot, especially like in Big Ten basketball. SEC football, a little different, but I don't necessarily know that Vols fans, I don't get that vibe from Vols fans because they're not used to feeling like an underdog, even though they have been an underdog for quite some time at this point.
With Titans fans, it's also about, they don't notice us, right? They don't notice what we're doing over here. They don't talk about us.
Jamie Erdahl knows we exist?
Exactly.
She sat next to Jason McCourty?
And we bring that up too much. We talk about it too much. It's not something that truly matters. But I do think that's the ire that is drawn from Titans fans is they don't even notice us. We got L'Jarius Sneed over here, Calvin Ridley over here, and it's this big shock to pick the Titans to make the playoffs. Tennessee has no problem being in the news, right? Say Indiana basketball. It's one of the foremost programs in college basketball history. Yeah, exactly. So that's not nearly as much of the discussion amongst those fan bases.
615-737-1045 is the number. What's the most exciting NFL Week 1 matchup? We got a big one tonight. What's on your docket ahead of the first real Sunday of NFL football? We'll talk about it coming up next.
Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The first injury report of the season came out on Wednesday. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins was a limited participant with a knee injury. Linebacker Otis Reese was limited with a concussion, and safety Jamal Adams did not practice with a hip as the Titans prepare to travel to the Chicago Bears to open the season Sunday afternoon. In NFL news, Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase did participate in practice yesterday. The Bengals open up against the Patriots on Sunday. Chase's status still in question for Week 1. And Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert says his foot is back to 100% health, and he will be available as the Chargers take on the Raiders to open the season, which kicks off tonight. The Baltimore Ravens visit the Kansas City Chiefs. Kickoff at 7:20 at Arrowhead Stadium. Westwood One coverage right here on The Zone begins at 7 p.m. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour already. Show is moving fast. We're going to get you there even quicker. Just one more hour closer to football. Kickoff between the Ravens and the Chiefs tonight. Little Thursday night football with the Sunday night crew to start the 2024 NFL season. Looking forward to that. We're going to make Super Bowl picks in this segment. We've never done this as a show. We've never done actual predictions. We've never done the actual sports radio thing that sports radio people typically do.
How about this? Let's change it so we can have immunity from predictions. Let's call them expectations. Our Super Bowl expectations coming up in the next segment. So you can't say that we did predictions. We can still have that as part of our repertoire. We'll do the same thing for the Titans tomorrow. Titans' final expectations.
Ooh.
Not picks.
Not picks.
Not predictions.
None of it.
Because we can't tell you what's going to happen, but we can tell you what we expect to happen.
I'm not going to tell you how to think. I'm just telling you, asking you if you'd like to, right?
Either way, I will be clipping all of these and playing them back when you're dead wrong.
Well, the most dead wrong person on superlatives, we're going to keep track of this, and the Super Bowl expectations, not picks, but expectations, will wear the helmet of shame for an entire show, which is probably going to be you.
Oh, speaking of that, have we gone a day without an incident yet?
No.
What? I just asked a question.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll work on that.
0 days since the last incident.
0 segments since the last incident. This entire show is just a perpetual incident. Anyway, most exciting NFL Week 1 matchups. Tough to top Chiefs and Ravens, right? There is no more exciting game on the schedule than the Chiefs and the Ravens, an AFC Championship rematch. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Who's the biggest star on the Ravens defense right now?
Matabuki?
Kyle Hamilton?
Kyle Hamilton, yeah.
Roquan Smith?
A lot of names.
Got some good players.
We're peaking tonight. I mean, this is the best, on paper, for me, the best matchup of the Week 1 slate.
But there are fascinating Week 1 games. I had no idea until I was prepping for the Cosell podcast on Tuesday and Wednesday. Colts and Texans playing Week 1. That's a huge game for everybody involved with the AFC South. So scoreboard watching, maybe you're going to be locked in on Titans Bears, but you keep an eye in that same window on the Texans and the Colts in Week 1. The Jags and the Dolphins. The Patriots and the Bengals shouldn't be much of a game. And then as big a game as the NFC could have, like, are you sure we're peaking if on Friday, because remember we have a Friday game, it's in Brazil. I know you're passionate about the messaging around the Brazil stuff. We'll save it for tomorrow. But the Packers and Eagles is a huge NFC game. Is that not the equivalent of Ravens Chiefs on the other side of the bracket? I don't know that we're peaking tonight.
I don't think it is personally because and look, it's Week 1, so it's really hard not to have last season in mind when you're getting excited about what games will be good in Week 1. So with the last time we saw all of these teams, When I think Eagles, I think terribly disappointing 2023. And yes, Nick Sirianni made a lot of staff changes that were necessary. And
superstar staff.
It's a great staff now. And
Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio as your coordinators.
Saquon Barkley's in Philadelphia now. So, no, this is not the same Philly team as last year. And then when I think Green Bay, I think, half a season of really good football. When I think Ravens Chiefs, I think contenders, regardless of who's around them when Lamar Jackson is quarterbacking the Baltimore Ravens and when Patrick Mahomes is quarterbacking the Kansas City Chiefs. So for me, that's why Ravens Chiefs kind of holds a higher spot. But yes, no question, Packers Eagles, everything happening around it in Brazil and Sao Paulo will be awesome. Anita performing at halftime, the love of my life. Don't tell Megan.
Don't be. You just took that woman to Italy.
I did.
To propose to her and got in front of a live microphone.
And I'm taking her to Brazil next year, so I can say it.
You never invoke Megan's name on the radio show, only to say, don't tell Megan, Anita's actually the love of my life.
She knows this.
Okay. As long as there's clarity in the relationship. So, somebody in the YouTube chat just serving blasphemy. Many people in the YouTube chat saying, who? Anita, very famous international music recording artist that she's from Brazil, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that will be the halftime show on Friday. So let's just take from a football intrigue standpoint, okay? Outside of the storyline elements, the actual football. I have a weird fascination with the Falcons this year. And the Steelers feel like a bit of a science experiment that I don't know what it's going to look like. And week 1 is going to be a curious time to find out. From a football weirdo standpoint, I kind of love Steelers-Falcons as a matchup because I think that the Falcons are going to be considerably better on offense. In fact, I feel pretty good about Bijan Robinson. Vegas feels pretty good about Bijan Robinson as an offensive player of the year, betting he's not a favorite, but he's like the second favorite on the board, depending on which sports book that you're looking at. Elsewhere, Titans-Bears also fits this category of football intrigue that I have. Now, obviously, I'm going to be at that game. Obviously, that's the team that I cover. And it just so happens that the team on the other side has the number 1 overall pick and a really good football team that typically is not associated with a team that has picked number 1 overall. So, football matchup perspective, Matt Eberflus's defense versus whatever Brian Callahan's offense ultimately ends up looking like, and how close to week 1 the rest of it ends up looking like. That is an interesting football matchup to me. And then I'd say Broncos-Seahawks. Broncos-Seahawks, a weirdo football game that I kind of love because I don't know that Bo Nix is going to be good, but Sean Payton seems to think that he's the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
He's a captain.
And he's the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Fair to expect that Caleb Williams is the captain of the Bears.
Fair.
It's just what you do. But
is Jaden Daniels?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would assume, but I don't know. They have a lot of weird old players there. Austin Eckler is there. Zach Ertz is still roaming around there. There's a couple of interesting characters that might also be team captains in Washington this year. But everything that you hear about what the Broncos organization is now that they feel like they've got the anchor that was Russ off their backs, a lot of Saints vibes, early Saints vibes around the Sean Payton Broncos right now, and the Seahawks are absolutely a playoff team that are fun to watch with an offensive coordinator that's going to push the ball down the field, which is what Geno Smith loves to do. So I love that game.
Hard not to be fascinated by the last 2 games of the weekend. Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Sunday night, the Stafford Goff Bowl, Part 2, with the Rams at the Lions. And then Monday Night Football, Jets at Niners.
Well, that's less football interesting. Yeah, it's equal parts football interesting in TMZ.
Sure, but it's all encapsulating here. To see take 2, it feels like take 2 of Aaron Rodgers and the Jets experience.
Why would you do that? Why would you put them as the only game on again? Are you going to have him run out? Well, at least it's on the road. He's not going to run out of the tunnel in San Fran with the American flag this time.
No, because people are going to watch. It's going to be fascinating on Monday night at the San Francisco 49ers, perennial Super Bowl contenders under Kyle Shanahan. The Jets are so intriguing to me this year with how high the ceiling can be and how low the floor can be. We've talked about them as a house of cards that could stay standing up, but could also collapse in the most disastrous fashion. They're almost built in a way to when it burns, when it goes down, it's going to go down in flames, right? Like, that's what it feels like the Jets are going to be this year. Either everything comes together in the most perfect way possible, or there's just this crazy power vacuum with everything that Aaron Rodgers holds with that franchise in his hands, and it goes down in absolute flames. So that starts on Monday Night Football in San Francisco.
Do you think he's going to be good?
Aaron Rodgers?
Rodgers.
Yeah, if he's healthy, yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen him be good at football.
2 years.
It's a long time.
Sure.
And how much do you think Tom Brady has skewed our view of quarterbacks 35 plus? Because the only person to ever do it this well at that age is Brady. Brady's the exception. Peyton was Peyton 35, 36 when he went to hell? When his body went to hell?
Yeah, Brady made it to where it's not that weird. Like, we're not just sitting here talking about how Aaron Rodgers is 40 because of Tom Brady.
But we should be, I think. I think that Brady has so skewed what we think longevity for a quarterback should be because one guy did it, that is not enough of the discourse around Aaron Rodgers. Now, could he come out in week 1 and week 2 against the Titans and prove us all wrong and tell me to eat it or something like that? Sure. But if you're playing the percentages, the odds would not be in Aaron Rodgers' favor to return to Aaron Rodgers as the player that we know Aaron Rodgers to be, right? One of the best, arguably the most talented player, not named Patrick Mahomes, to play that position. So I'm fascinated to see whether he's actually able to return to form because that's no small injury, even if the mobility and the athleticism is not exactly what he predicates his game off of.
Who's the second oldest starting quarterback in the NFL?
I bet it's Stafford.
36.
Stafford is probably up there. Just kind of scrolling through teams right now. Derek Carr is not 36, but he's probably close. He's probably 34. He's probably 34-ish. Kirk is 35. He's at least 35. He may be 36.
I think he's the same age as Stafford.
So it would be between Kirk Cousins and Matt Stafford as the oldest starting quarterbacks not named Aaron Rodgers.
Because we could have that conversation with Kirk, too. Kirk he played more than Aaron Rodgers last year for sure. He was having a phenomenal season.
It was the best he's ever looked.
When he went down. But what are the expectations of Kirk Cousins this year, who we expect to see for the first time on Sunday against the Steelers?
I really don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know if they knew because they drafted Michael Penix overall, you know?
I'm not that, because same injury, right? Achilles. But you could make the argument that Kirk Cousins could bounce back from it maybe a little bit better. Not exactly a guy that relies on his legs, right? He's not scrambling around the pocket. And he's got 4 years on Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, maybe it wouldn't be too shocking to see Kirk Cousins bounce back from that injury, even though it happened later in the season than Rodgers last year.
You mean Aaron Rodgers has 4 years on him?
Yeah, well, Kirk has 4 years on Rodgers in a good way.
Yes.
Yes.
Understood. So, a lot of fun week 1 games. Titans, of course, at the Bears. Ravens at the Chiefs tonight. And a Friday football game between the Packers and the Eagles in Brazil. We broke down all of those matchups, by the way, in great detail on this week's episode of The Install with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. So after you've listened to the radio show or after you get done with Blaine or Zach and 3HL today and you want to throw on some extra football discussion, Greg did a great job detailing all the elements that you need to know specifically about Chicago and the Ravens and Chiefs and Packers and Eagles matchups to watch in that game from a tactics standpoint. Coming up next, we're going to make our season superlative and Super Bowl expectations, not picks. We don't do picks. That's next. I thought this was Run Run Rudolph for a second, but it's Johnny Be Good. I got confused.
It's Christmas morning, baby.
You were about to rip me, weren't you?
I was thinking about it.
I could see it in your face.
I was ready, but I stopped myself. See? Restraint. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. You ready to pick some season superlatives?
Yes. It is Christmas morning.
Wait.
Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit are waiting under the tree for when we turn on our TVs tonight.
No. It's the Sunday Night Crew.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's not
that's
on
right.
Prime.
That's right.
No, you can't have bored Al Michaels on your first game of the
You're
season.
absolutely right. I forgot. It is the Sunday Night Crew. Mike Tirico, yes.
A little better energy there, which is a shame to say about Al because I do love that Al Michaels still does games, but there's definitely a difference. Anyway, so I said this. I set us up for failure already. I said picks. We're not doing picks.
We don't do picks.
Never. Not once. Not once in 3 years have we done a pick. We don't pick games. We don't pick records. We don't do picks. But today, we are going to set expectations for what? 6 of the NFL season awards and Super Bowl expectations. Not picks, but my expectation, our expectation of who is going to be in the Super Bowl this year. Tomorrow, we'll do this for the Titans. So,
I feel like we should conclude with Super Bowl.
I agree. I'm going to read you the list of NFL award winners from a year ago. Most valuable player, can you tell me?
The MVP last year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness. Who was the MVP last year?
Shut up.
Lamar?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Offensive player of the year, Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Defensive player of the year?
Myles Garrett.
Offensive rookie of the year?
Although both Texans, Stroud and then Anderson on defense.
Correct. And then the coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski. Now, coach of the year is something that, fluctuates, right? Because if they're the coach of the year, Bill Belichick should have like 40 of these. If it's the coaching job of the year, it's a different discussion, right? Mike Vrabel in 2021, that was the coaching job of the year. To get that team the number 1 overall seed, that was miraculous what happened there.
They should, that is something. That might be the first good idea you've ever had on this show. They should do that at every level.
Every level.
College football, coaching job of the year.
Correct.
Something Lance Leipold would have won,
Yes.
right, at some point with his job at Kansas. But coach of the year, you feel like you got to give it to. The NFL does actually do a good job of giving it to the coach who did the best coaching job. I think. Whereas in college football and college basketball, they just end up giving it to the guy that won the most.
Yeah. So, Lamar, CMC, Myles Garrett, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, Kevin Stefanski. So, we'll go in that order. Most valuable player for the 2024 season. I'm going to go with Jordan Love.
Oh.
Packers quarterback Jordan Love. It feels like there's something happening in the NFL with CJ Stroud and Jordan Love and how people talk about them. I think a lot of people have some expectation that CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans, understandably so, are just shoo-ins for an AFC Championship appearance. Now, that may end up being so. We have no idea. But if you're asking me who the better quarterback is and who is also on an ascending trajectory, but at a much higher level, Jordan Love is the better player. The Packers, I don't know if they're a better football team, but they're as good a football team as I think the Houston Texans are. And I might argue that the Green Bay Packers are as talented a football team as the Niners, the Eagles, the Rams, or any of the other teams that we talk about as being meaningfully competitive, Super Bowl level competitive in the NFC. I think Jordan Love's going to win the MVP this year.
The expectations for Love are sky high, and they should be with the contract that he got. Expectations are higher for Love than they are for Trevor Lawrence, who's a former number 1 overall pick who got a very similar contract.
Mm-hmm.
And they should be. Jordan Love played at a higher level for half a season last year than Trevor Lawrence ever has for a 5, 6, 7 week stretch in his NFL career.
And by the way, Trevor Lawrence might still be the best quarterback in the division. Like CJ Stroud may get there eventually, but right now, Trevor Lawrence is still the better quarterback, the more experienced quarterback in the division, and I would stand on that.
I think Pat Mahomes wins his 3rd career MVP.
Okay.
I don't think the Chiefs stay down as a regular season offense in 2023 the way they did, or in 2024, I should say, the way they did in 2023. The moves that they made, Xavier Worthy, I think, is going to be a Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, something we'll talk about a little bit later. I know Hollywood Brown is out tonight, but he will be a deep threat on that offense. Travis Kelce will still be Travis Kelce. I think the Chiefs' offense is recognizable again in the regular season, and we do not see the same elite defense, offense just getting it done in moments until the playoffs thing that we did last year. I think Pat Mahomes reestablishes himself as the best regular season quarterback in the NFL and wins MVP.
All right, I've got Jordan Love. Lucas is going chalk. Pat Mahomes. Jackson.
Going with a non-quarterback pick. Give me Tyreek Hill. I think
as MVP.
As MVP.
It's not going to happen. You've lost already.
I think this is the year he strays away from the quarterbacks, and we get Tyreek Hill.
If Tyreek Hill ends up being that kind of a player, then Tua is going to win the MVP.
It's true.
Tyreek Hill. That's my pick. Sticking to it. You can hate on it all you want, bud.
Good luck. Offensive player of the year. Last year, Christian McCaffrey. Excellent player for the San Francisco 49ers. Dual threat ability. I'm taking Derrick Henry.
Oh, my goodness.
Derrick Henry in the Baltimore Ravens offense. Dustin Anderson says, just because you decide to not call them picks doesn't mean they're not picks. Yes, they are. They're expectations. They're not picks. My expectation.
Oh, man. It makes it sound worse when you make it the expectation.
My expectation is much worse.
Is that Derrick Henry is the offensive player of the year. Refreshed, renewed, whatever you want to call it, behind a better Ravens offensive line with a more viable quarterback in the backfield, with the ability to do all kinds of cool and crazy stuff like he used to in goal line and red zone situations. Give me Derrick Henry.
Bad expectation. I think it's a bad expectation. What did Derrick Henry have to do to win Offensive Player of the Year when he did win it with the Titans?
2,000 yards.
He had to go for 2,000 yards.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to do in an offense that features Lamar Jackson heavily in the run game as well.
Okay.
Derrick Henry, not the pass-catching option out of the backfield that Christian McCaffrey was last year when he won Offensive Player of the Year.
But he scores touchdowns.
So
and
he sure
scores
does.
Lots of them.
He sure does.
And he throws them and he runs for them. Derrick Henry, expectation. Offensive player.
Which is why I would not be shocked to see him break a career high in touchdowns, which is astronomically high, but Offensive Player of the Year, I don't know. I'm going with Jackson's pick to win MVP, but I'm moving it to OPOY, and that's Tyreek Hill.
It is cracking me up how seriously one person is taking this, Dustin Anderson on Facebook. Like, you're literally picking an expectation. That's right. Play the game.
Not picks.
Expectations.
Tyreek Hill for me, Offensive Player of the Year. The Dolphins offense is going to put up crazy numbers.
God, these are so boring by you. You're just going chalk.
They might choke in the playoffs. Doesn't matter. For a regular season award, I'm going with Tyreek Hill.
Oh, my turn? Hey, Buck. My pick for Offensive Player of the Year.
I want him to say Tua so bad.
It is a quarterback. It's Joe Burrow.
Okay.
I think coming off the injury,
Wait,
I'm just flip-flopping
You didn't
him.
take this seriously at all.
I'm flip-flopping him. I want chaos.
Will you be serious for one moment?
I think Tyreek Hill has a record-breaking season to win MVP, and I think Joe Burrow is just the best quarterback, so they give him Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, yeah. That's what they do. They just say, give the best receiver MVP and best quarterback and just get Offensive Player.
If you know we're going to make fun of you, why do you do these things?
Chaos.
Okay.
It would be so perfectly acceptable for you to flip-flop those because Joe Burrow is a great MVP pick or expectation.
Would not have dragged you at all.
Okay.
Tough. These are my picks. They're not your expectations.
Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett is the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. I would not fault a single solitary soul for picking him to repeat. He is excellent. He is a Tyrannosaurus Rex running through your backfield. He is gnawing on your quarterback's spine like the bear in The Revenant. He is coming for your soul, Myles Garrett. But I'm going to take Micah Parsons. He's never won Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is... Myles Garrett is the most talented defensive player going right now. That would be the safest pick, and the Browns expect to be excellent again on defense. But I think that Micah Parsons is such a special player, and especially the fact with the ability to get to the quarterback the way that he does, I just don't know that you can deny him for much longer. He's been a great player for a long time. It feels like he's at the point where he's going to earn one of these Defensive Player of the Years.
I have nothing to add. He is my pick. He is the best defensive player in the NFL to not have won this award. The numbers are insane. 13 or more sacks in each of his first 3 years in the NFL. Yes, I agree with you there. Jackson.
I had Micah Parsons as well.
Okay.
So I agree with Buck.
I don't believe you.
You want to come look at my sheet of paper?
No, I don't even believe you have a sheet of paper. I don't even think there's anything written on that sheet of
Jackson to
paper.
say like Vita Vea or something, like someone that doesn't like rack up.
He did that thing one time to Andre Dillard, and all of a sudden he's the defensive player of the year. It's still one of the funniest things I've seen a defensive coordinator do. Hey, you 350-pound nose tackle, go line up against that left tackle and just beat him. Just beat him. What a ridiculous thing they trotted out at left tackle last year, the Titans. Anyway, Offensive Rookie of the Year, C.J. Stroud. Couple of Texans won the Offensive Rookie and Defensive Rookie of the Year. C.J. Stroud, the second overall pick. Will Anderson, the third overall pick. This year, I think it's Jaden Daniels. Now, I think the easy thing to say would be the number one overall pick on arguably the best team the number one overall pick has ever been on, with a really solid, if not good, collection of skill position players. A team that sported the second best rushing attack in football last year, the best in the NFC. But I think that Jaden Daniels has a dual threat ability, and something about him and Cliff Kingsbury's offense, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to look the way that it did with Kyler Murray. I know if it does look the way that it did with Kyler Murray, then they need to be looking for a new offensive coordinator next year. But there's something about that intrigues me, excites me, and I think that he could, if he has any kind of an impact for Washington, I think it's tough to hold him down. Like, if they're pushing for a playoff spot, I don't know if they're going to be pushing for a playoff spot. Dallas and Philly, of course, are sitting at the top of that division, so it would take some kind of football act of God for that not to again be the case. But Jaden Daniels is an electric player, so if they can even harness a tenth of that, what he had in college as the Heisman Trophy winner, I think that would feel like a pretty safe bet.
Here's the problem. Caleb Williams is the rookie quarterback surrounded by the best situation.
Sure.
Is he not? Mm-hmm. So it's really hard not to say Caleb Williams. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a tough guy not to pick here, too, with just how much. Name another receiver on the Cardinals, if you would.
Rondale Moore's not there anymore, right? The Purdue receiver? Is he still there? I thought he got traded for some reason.
Oh, I'm pulling up their depth chart.
Okay.
No, he's not. Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch. Can I interest you in Greg Dortch?
I've heard that name. Greg Dortch is not allowed to be a good NFL wide receiver. With a name like Dortch, you have to be an offensive lineman or you cannot play in the league.
Zay Jones suspended. Gambling or PEDs? Remind me.
I don't remember.
I don't either. But Chris Moore, Titans legend.
Oh.
Is an Arizona Cardinal receiver.
Titans legend.
So in real time, I'm almost wanting to change my pick to Marvin Harrison Jr. with how much of the ball he's going to see.
Going to get volume.
But
if he doesn't get sued.
Yeah.
I mean, he's currently getting sued. Him and his dad.
I'm going to go with Caleb Williams. Rookie quarterback surrounded by the best situation.
Chalk again for Lucas. Jackson?
I am going with Maserati Marv.
Maserati. Oh, such a great nickname. How could you
Great nickname. It flows right off the tongue.
Just give him the Rookie of the Year award for the nickname. Is Kyler Murray going to be good this year?
I don't know. I think they're going to put up some numbers. I think Murray and Harrison will put up some numbers.
Blake Bortles put up numbers in games. Was Blake Bortles good? No.
For Jones, it was the NFL's personal conduct policy, so neither gambling nor PEDs.
Interesting. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Domestic battery charge.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Very serious. Sorry to laugh. Leatu Latu, Colts edge rusher. First defensive player off the board this year. Health, biggest concern. The neck thing, anytime you're talking about a neck thing, concerning, but he's an excellent player. He's on a good defense. Do people think of the Colts as a good defensive front? They should. DeForest Buckner is a really, really high-level player. They've got a nice collection of front seven players, though. The secondary is not good. And that will probably be the biggest hindrance that they have this season, at least on paper. But Leatu Latu, I think, has a really, really good chance. I mean, he's a starting edge rusher. He plays in a division where there's not Laramie Tunsil's the second best left tackle in football, but there's not overwhelmingly great tackle play in the AFC South right now outside of Tunsil. So give me Latu, the Colts edge rusher.
Who's the most blitz-happy team in the NFL? Most blitz-happy defensive coordinator in the National Football League.
Where is Wink Martindale? Where is he?
Oh, where is Wink Martindale?
Where is Wink Martindale? He got run out. There was a power struggle with the Giants and Brian Daboll. He got run out of New York. Is he on? Is he? I don't. He might not be a coordinator this year.
He is. He's at Michigan. That's right.
Is he really?
He is the DC at Michigan. Yes, Jerome Moore hired him this offseason.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Who's the most blitz-happy defensive coordinator in the league?
Spags is up there.
Brian Flores, the Minnesota Vikings, which is why I'm going with Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama, who replaces a need as Daniil Hunter was traded to the Texans.
So thought that Dallas Turner might be the first edge player off the board, but the Colts went Latu instead. Jackson?
Going with Terrion Arnold out of Detroit, out of Alabama. I think he's set up in a secondary where, as a rookie, he'll probably get targeted, get a few picks, and he'll win D-Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that's fair logic, right? Because people will. I think a lot of criticism from people that don't watch games is Snead doesn't have a ton of interceptions. Well, why doesn't L'Jarius Snead have a ton of interceptions? Because teams don't throw at him. Rookie corners are going to get tested. Terrion Arnold is in a defense where the secondary was nightmarish. Titans legend Kendall Vildor playing corner for them down the stretch last year. Forgot that name, didn't you?
It was, I believe, his helmet that the ball bounced off of on that Ayuk catch.
That's correct. Tough scene. But I think that's an interesting pick. Defensive back would be tough to win Rookie of the Year.
You got to rack up the interceptions.
Yeah, it's a box score stuffing type of thing, and I don't know that corner would be, but it's a different pick. It's not chalk like Lucas. Okay, Coach of the Year.
Who is the last defensive Rookie of the Year to be a defensive back? Sauce Gardner. 2 years ago.
And Sauce is, of course, excellent.
Yes. But before that, it was Marshawn Lattimore.
Coach of the Year. So I struggled with this because coaching job of the year, there's a couple of people that could do a coaching job of the year. If Dave Canales gets anything out of Bryce Young, would that not be considered a coaching job of the year? If the Carolina Panthers look like an NFL football team. Now, that's not where I went, but I thought about it. Coaching job of the year.
They just won't win enough games.
That's the thing, right? Like that's not, they can't be the kind of team for a coach that does it that way. Like the Titans literally had to get the number 1 overall seed for Vrabel to be a lock, even though there was no question that staff did an excellent job in 2021, surviving all the injuries, a historic level of injury to the roster. But I went with Shane Steichen. So I went back-to-back Colts here. If Richardson hits, which is the thing that everybody in the AFC South, at least, to talk to executives and Mike Sando's quarterback tiers and all these anonymous quotes. If Richardson hits, he has the highest ceiling of any of the 4 in the AFC South. Now, it's a big if because he's got to play. And the whole thing is the guy doesn't play. You have no idea what he is because he doesn't play. But if Shane Steichen is a really good coach, they went 9-8 with Gardner Minshew last year. They had no business doing so. They went 9-8 with Gardner Minshew starting at quarterback, and really not a lot of Jonathan Taylor help. Like they did it mostly with Zach Moss, Titan killer. I think Shane Steichen has the real potential to do a Coach of the Year job if he gets Richardson even remotely functional. Even if it's like a year away from being playoff caliber consideration or something that we think. If they have a winning record again, and it's because of Richardson and because the job he did with Richardson, I think he's got it on lock.
Yeah, that's just assuming the Colts would have to be good.
It's a big bet on Richardson.
I don't have that much faith in the Colts right now.
There is no business. You should have no business having faith in the Colts right now because the quarterback doesn't play games. I get it. But, their expectations, not picks. And I think if he has any kind, if he gets, let's say he gets 14 games of Richardson and it looks good, like mechanically it improves throughout the course of the year, just as he plays, I think Steichen could have a really good shot at it.
I'm going to go Matt LaFleur. If the Packers do take that step.
Has he ever won it?
No.
Oh, that I think is overdue. I think Aaron Rodgers got way too much credit for a good job that Matt LaFleur helped do.
Now, in recent history, coaches that have won this award have not been overdue, right? Like that wasn't the conversation with Mike Vrabel or Brian Daboll. But I think if the Packers are going to take that step and put it together for a full regular season, I would go with Matt LaFleur. Who do you think's the favorite, real quick?
For Coach of the Year?
Yeah. FanDuel Sportsbook, who do you think's the favorite?
What a good question.
Because it'd be easy to say Andy Reid, right? But you'd be dead wrong. Andy Reid is very bottom of the list, plus 6,000.
That's ridiculous. He does a coaching job of the year every
Sure,
year.
But how often does the coach of the favorite team with the best quarterback win coach of the year? Again, it always actually goes to coaching job.
I don't know. Tell me.
Jim Harbaugh.
No.
Jim Harbaugh's the favorite on FanDuel Sportsbook.
Get the hell out of here.
At plus 1,000. Well, okay, he's a co-favorite with Matt Eberflus.
Eberflus, I get. Harbaugh, no. The Chargers are a terrible team right now. A terrible roster. No way. We'll see.
But if he can win with that terrible roster.
If he can do any winning of consequence with the Chargers because they are perpetual losers, then yes, he deserves Coach of the Year.
Jackson, real quick.
Hey, Buck. My Coach of the Year pick is another terrible roster, Dave Canales. I think if he can do what he did with Baker Mayfield and with Geno Smith, he probably earns a Coach of the Year nod.
And I think Lucas's point is well taken, though. But there's just not enough wins for them to get to that point. But I would agree with you that it would be a coaching job of the year if they look like a competent football team.
Real quick, how many games would the Titans have to win for Callahan to be in consideration?
I mean, it took Vrabel the number 1 overall seed in 12.
Yeah.
I think there are going to be too many other options around where it's just going to be it's like a Pro Bowl. Like your first season having Pro Bowl type of stats, you almost never go to the Pro Bowl that year. It's always the year after, right? Always the year after. So if Callahan does a good coaching job, I would think it would take another good coaching job. And I really do think that's a product of being the Titans coach.
Should we do Super Bowl next?
Yes. I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Wrapping up here, we're going to do our Super Bowl expectations, not picks, here in just a second. Week 1 kicking off tonight between the Chiefs and the Ravens. We got some phone calls to take, 615-737-1045. Last call for them if you got them. If you can't get in with us, you've got Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons coming up next. Alexander's up first. What's happening?
Hey, guys. Today might be the best day of the whole year, man. I'm feeling like a kid in a candy store right now with some actual football coming on right now. How you guys doing?
We're great. We're vibes are high, morale's through the roof. Football's back. Lucas said football was back last week, 2 weeks ago, but it's fine. The NFL starts tonight.
That's what I'm saying, and I almost didn't call, but Buck, when I heard you pick Coach of the Year for Indianapolis, it just crawled on my skin, and I'm just like, what's, you know? But with the turnover to the roster with the Titans and the expectations coming in the preseason, if he takes us from worst to first, I feel Bill Callahan will be in a good position taking us to the playoffs after this year to be in Coach of the Year. And I'm excited to see it, man. I mean, I'm 95% sure we're going to make the playoffs, and I might parlay that with Travis Hunter, Heisman, and have some good beer money, fellas.
Appreciate it. So Brian, not Bill, but
it's going to happen a lot.
It's going to happen a lot. It happened to us, so don't worry about it. I just think it's a bit of a popularity contest. And if you're putting the Titans in any kind of popularity contest, I honestly think we would take more than worst to first.
Yeah, like Brian Daboll won it when he got the Giants in as a wild card team because Daniel Jones played decently well. And like that type of season in Tennessee would not win Coach of the Year. That's because he was the head coach of the Giants. It, like you said, it took Vrabel getting the 1 seed with the worst injury luck in NFL history in winning 12 games for the Titans to get Coach of the Year.
So part of my bet on Steichen, and again, I don't bet these things because I'm an NFL reporter, but if I was betting with your money, part of my bet is on Steichen is how overhyped and overloved the Colts are every year. Like people seem to go out of their way to give the Colts any kind of credibility for anything. And also, I think Steichen's a really good coach. So both things can be so. Eric, next.
So just to screw around in the commercial break, I went on FanDuel and I tallied both you and Lucas's, picks together on FanDuel. Jackson, I'm sorry, I didn't do yours just because of Tyreek Hill for MVP. You do a great job with the show, man, but I'm sorry.
Second class citizen.
I tallied everything and I put $5 each on it. So if any of you guys win, Buck, I know you can't bet on the NFL, but I can slide you a little bit on the side. Lucas's $5 wins you $18,000. Buck, your $5 goes to $700,000. So you are not very likely on the FanDuel market, but I just did that to screw around. I'm probably going to lose $10 as a whole, but hey, screw it. You have a good day.
We will reimburse you that $10.
Thank you, Eric. My Venmo is at Lucas Panzica.
Okay, you do not get that money if Eric wins it just because you made the picks.
Super Bowl expectations.
You can bet on your own picks. I'm not going to do that.
Running out of time.
Okay. My Super Bowl expectation, the Jets against the Packers.
And, oh, wait, what? You just said Jets?
I think they could do it. I really do.
You troll.
I really do. I'll have some fun with it.
Who wins?
Are you going to pick
Who
the
wins?
Chiefs? Oh, who wins?
Yes, you
My
just said the
expectation would be the Packers would win that game.
Okay. Wow. You're all over the place. My expectation.
If we're going to do this stupid crap, we might as well have fun with it.
But when I have fun, it was wrong.
Yeah, but yours was dumb wrong. Like, at least mine is fun wrong.
My expectation, the Baltimore Ravens beat the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs.
Neither of us have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
I think the Chiefs have a dominant regular season and are the 1 seed. Pat Mahomes wins MVP, but I think Baltimore gets them back in the AFC Championship. They address the things that held them back from the Super Bowl last year, which I think they would have won if they were the team in it and not Kansas City. So, yes, I'm going with the Ravens and Derrick Henry over the Lions in the Super Bowl.
I have Derrick Henry becoming the second Titan to leave the team and make the Super Bowl in the next year, but they lose to the Lions.
Did you actually have
Lions
that? Or
over
did you just
Ravens?
take a look?
No, I've had Lions over. You can ask Joseph.
I don't
He's back
believe
here in
any
the
of these things.
brainstorming.
Yeah, I'm going to believe Lizard Boy.
Lizard Boy.
Lizard Boy is good.
That's some of your best work.
It's not a long list to pick from. All right. Well, we don't have time for polls here.
Yeah, we do. Jackson, I appreciate you so much for using a college football poll open on a very NFL-heavy day as Week 1 kicks off.
Hit the wrong button.
Polls presented by Two Rivers Ford. Why don't you just roll with that?
It's shocking to nobody.
Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Rapid fire. How would you feel about the Titans receiver core on Sunday if D-Hop can't go? 66.3% say cautiously optimistic. 17.3% say we need him out there. 16.4% say we feel great. Most people cautiously optimistic.
If you need him out there after all the money you spent, then you didn't spend the money wisely.
Who you got tonight? Ravens or Chiefs? Oh, it's so narrow. 50.6% are going with the Ravens.
Whoa, an upset. We'll see. Week 1's weird.
Who's your pick to win the Super Bowl? Brian says the Lions. Tennessee 615 says the Bengals. We didn't give the Bengals much love today. Except Jackson making Joe Burrow his offensive player of the year.
Yeah, and picking Tyreek Hill to be MVP.
Miller's going with the Eagles.
Dumb wrong.
Who is your pick for NFL Coach of the Year? And really just sorting through all the Callahan submissions. Jack says Jim Harbaugh. He's going with the co-betting favorite, Harbaugh, plus 1,000, along with Chicago head coach Matt Eberflus. Tennessee 615 back in the replies, going with Mike McCarthy, who will either be fired or Coach of the Year. There is no in between.
What if
for
he
Mike
wins
McCarthy.
Coach of the Year, chokes it out in the
then gets
playoffs, and then gets fired? Please, dear God, not that I pray on anybody's downfall, but just for the pure comedy. Mike, you have made enough money. I would not feel the worst for you if you got canned, but that would be hilarious.
Your pick for MVP, Taylor says Joe Burrow. JJ says Will Levis, sunglasses emoji. And Jack back at it saying CJ Stroud. Karen says probably Mahomes.
Stranger things have happened.
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. We had a great time. Back at it tomorrow. Enjoy the football tonight. We'll react to it with Coach Dave McGinnis at Titans Radio. Get you ready for Titans Bears. Prime time at 6 o'clock, 6:30. Exactly, to make sure that you guys have time for Thursday Night Football. See y'all.